You've just taken off, the engines roar beneath you, and you're about to settle in for the flight. Then, bam, a loud thud, the aircraft jolts, warning lights flash. And in the span of a heartbeat, what was supposed to be a routine flight turns into a test of nerves and engineering. What just happened? A bird strike. It sounds almost comical, like something straight out of a cartoon. But in reality, bird strikes are one of aviation's biggest hidden dangers, causing millions of dollars in damage and in some cases, forcing life or death decisions mid-air. While most people never think twice about the birds outside their plane window, pilots and engineers know just how unpredictable and destructive these high-speed feathery collisions can be. The question is, how do they happen? What makes them so dangerous? And most importantly, what can we do about them? Because if there's one thing you probably didn't expect to be a serious threat to a multi-million-dollar jet, it's a bird. Birds and airplanes share the sky, but here's the problem. One has been flying for millions of years, the other for barely a century. And when they collide, it's a physics nightmare. A 12-pound Canada goose slamming into a jet moving at 200 miles per hour generates the same impact force as a cannonball. A bird getting sucked into an engine? That's like throwing a rock into a blender, except the blender costs millions of dollars. Even small birds like starlings can be catastrophic. A single bird might not do much, but a flock? That can overload an engine, causing a flameout. To prepare for this, jet engines undergo extreme testing. Engineers literally launch dead chickens into engines at 300 miles per hour to simulate real-world impacts. It sounds ridiculous, but it's standard procedure. The FAA requires that jet engines withstand a single bird weighing up to 8 pounds and still keep running. But here's the catch. Flocks of birds? That's an entirely different beast. Engines aren't built to handle multiple bird impacts at once, and that's where things get dangerous. Each year, around 13,000 bird strikes are reported in the United States alone. Most result in minimal damage, but when they don't, they turn into aviation nightmares. These strikes have led to catastrophic failures, forced emergency landings, and even fatal crashes. Some of the most infamous incidents have left a permanent mark on aviation history, proving just how unpredictable and deadly bird strikes can be. Let's talk about one of the most well-known bird strike disasters. A flock of geese slams into an Airbus A320 seconds after takeoff. Both engines fail. Captain Sully has seconds to react. No runway, no power. Only one option, the Hudson River. 155 lives, one perfect water landing. A miracle? Yes. But it was also a wake-up call. This wasn't some rare freak occurrence. Bird strikes are a real constant threat. In fact, experts estimated that over the last 2 decades, bird strikes had cost the aviation industry more than $2 billion. The question wasn't just how to survive a bird strike, it was how to prevent one in the first place. Incidents like these change aviation forever. But here's the real question. If birds and planes have shared the skies for decades, what's being done to prevent this from happening again? Airports aren't just managing planes, they're constantly managing birds. Bird strikes happen most often during takeoff and landing, meaning that the battle to prevent them starts on the ground. Airports across the world have developed highly specialized tactics to reduce bird presence and prevent these deadly encounters. One of the most effective strategies is habitat control. Birds gather where they can find food, water, and nesting grounds, so airports modify their landscapes to make them as uninviting as possible. Grass is cut to specific heights, standing water is drained, and food sources are eliminated. Then there's scare tactics. Airports deploy loud noises, distress calls, laser deterrents, and even trained falcons to keep birds away from runways. But the technology is evolving too. Some airports are testing radar bird tracking systems, real-time AI programs that detect flocks of birds and warn pilots before takeoff. One of the most futuristic solutions being tested involves drones that mimic predator birds. Some airports are experimenting with robotic hawks that can patrol the airspace, scaring real birds away before they get near a runway. Field tests demonstrated that the robot falcon could clear areas of birds within 5 minutes, with some fields being vacated in as little as 70 seconds. Meanwhile, advanced radar systems are being deployed to detect flocks up to 5 miles away in real time, allowing air traffic control to delay departures if necessary. But here's the truth: we'll never eliminate bird strikes completely. Birds don't see planes as threats. They don't have flight plans. They don't have air traffic control, no concept of a 200-mile-per-hour metal giant cutting through their airspace. And yet, every time we take off, we enter their world. Jet engines are designed to compress and ignite air at extreme speeds. But when a bird is sucked in, the soft tissue vaporizes instantly, while bones and feathers turn into high-speed projectiles that can shatter turbine blades. In some cases, the engine can keep running, but at reduced efficiency. In others, it completely flames out, leaving pilots with no power. When a bird strike occurs, the first priority is assessing the damage. If it's minor, the flight continues as planned. But if an engine is lost, the decision becomes more complex. Return to the airport, divert, declare an emergency. Every second matters. The real work begins after landing. Maintenance teams inspect the engines, wings, and fuselage for damage. Sometimes it's just a few scratches, other times shredded turbine blades, cracked windshields, or fuselage punctures. Every reported bird strike is analyzed and logged. The goal? Make sure the next flight is safer than the last. Here's a thought. Birds have been flying for millions of years. We've been doing it for barely a century. We built machines that conquered the skies, but the skies were never ours alone. So the next time you board a flight, look out the window. Somewhere out there, a bird is flying the same path as you. Hopefully, you never meet.